I would like to take up this point, and I'm glad that I don't have to make it as the crazy academic. But if we really question the whole ranking game and say this isn't quite doing the job, or there, a lot of greenwashing and a lot of things going on which are actually counterproductive in a really bad way. I mean, we can say that. I think the real step we have to make here is question the current model of corporate ownership. I think we see a lot of progress towards ESG. Yeah, we see a lot of progress to these with regard to these goals when we change the idea of ownership, not market governed, and that's where these rankings comes in, and that's their value that they add this new dimension to our established way of corporate ownership through markets. But if we look at new ideas, if we look at social entrepreneurship, if we look at B Corps, we see very different ideas of ownership, which is not based on basically gambling on the stock market. Currently, corporate ownership is like a casino, basically. Nobody owns, we only invest. And if you think of day trading and all these things, the idea, and this is a point Paul Polman, Dominic Barton, other people who have thought about this. Mark Wiseman here from Canada has written about it in Harvard Business Review, that we need to change to a model where ownership really means that you identify and you stay with the company and you instill certain goals, ESG related goals, into the way this is managed and stay in there for the long term. So, in that sense, Bob, I pick up your point and say maybe we need to broaden the discussion. If we really want to get towards ESG, we have to also question current models of ownership.
Yeah, I mean, there are some very innovative employee ownership initiatives that are underway
Yes,
to
yes.
provide better and more easy access to capital for uh, ownership transitions from founders to their employees, for example. And you can't do that at a huge company, huge listed company, but for what used to be much smaller companies, now with maybe more medium-sized companies, for the employees to take a bigger role in the ownership and the governance of their firm going forward. There are some great innovations in that area as well. So we're coming at this from a lot of different areas, and it is a journey. But I think your point, Dirk, is fantastic, which is that who owns the company, what's their motivation, and what's their commitment and attachment to the company has a huge, huge role to play in how quickly we move and in the quality of the work.
No,
Mm,
it's really interesting. Yes, Dirk.
please.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, as you guys were speaking about ownership, it actually made me think about my own firm. So at CGI, one of the things that I noticed was that we called our employees members, not employees. And there was from day one, a push to um, participate in the share purchase plan. And obviously, there's an incentive to do so because we wanted to make an impact and to have our employees' voices heard by being actual owners. And it is longer term than day trading, which Dirk brought up. And so I think that I agree with you, Eric, that for a company even such as CGI, because we are a global, huge, global 500 company, it is difficult to do that. But even those types of small changes and these types of encouragements can happen at large firms where employees do have a more of a stake in the firm and do feel like owners and do believe that the steps and actions that they're taking do have an impact on where they work. I feel that is really powerful.
Mm,
Now,
I'll give you a quick one,
yeah.
which I was the beneficiary of this practice, but in trying to convince other companies to do it, I've had zero success, and that is to change the annual bonus to a quarterly payment, so that you don't have this, sort of white knuckle period before the end of the year where you're worried about how you're going to get rated and you're worried about how big your bonus is going to be. every 90 days you get a payment of your bonus, and you feel like it's more of a dividend check. You feel like more of an owner of the company, and you're participating in the economics, and you're continuously being rated. I've never been able to convince another company to do that I've tried. But when I did receive that as a partner of a company that I worked at many years ago, I really felt a little bit different walking into the company every morning. I'd see the name of the company on the wall, and I'd say, "Hey, listen, I have a role to play here as a participant in a different way than just an employee."
I like that you bring this idea of employee ownership and governance up, because look, we are sitting in downtown Toronto, one of the greatest cities in the world for many reasons. For me, including one that more than half of us are not even born here. Yeah, so put this whole discussion now, please, also in a global perspective. And yes, employee ownership, employee stake, employee representation on the board is something other parts of the world do. And going beyond to what we call normally the developing world or the third world, even very derogatory. I had a research project in India, and I had to write a book chapter with the chairman, Ratan Tata. So I spent 2 weeks there and was interviewing everybody in the senior management team it was about community engagement. And I had my little Western professor, smart interview guideline. And after day 2, that went into the bin, because the conversation topics in this part of the world, what the purpose of the firm is so different. And this company is number 66 on the Forbes index, so it's a big major multinational. They own major brands and everything. Yeah, it's not a let's say Ben and Jerry's kind of thing. It's a serious company, 2/3 owned by a foundation which does welfare state provision in India. And if you talk to the senior people there and ask them what's the purpose of your operation, they say nation building. I've never heard that before. You find that in no Western textbook. But that's the reality of the other 7 billion people in the world. And a lot of what we are talking, starting with rankings and stuff, is about the 2 billion. And that's our world. But, the beauty of Toronto is that we have all these people and these connections to the rest of the world, and certainly in my classroom. And I think we do well if we think about ownership, governance, role of employees, of community, and other ways to organize business, if we are talking about ESG, to learn from also these parts of the world.